Journaling. It's everywhere. Everyone's suggesting that we sit down with pen and paper and pour out our innermost thoughts. Have you ever wondered exactly why and what are the benefits of journaling on a daily basis? Well, on today's Mojo in 15, journaling expert Nicolle Nattrass helps us navigate the mysterious waters of journaling. Welcome to Mojo in 15, a space for conversations with movers and shakers who are here to give you a deep dive, a 15-minute deep dive into things and thoughts that matter to their audiences. My name is Pamela Sylvan, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell so you never miss any more such engaging guests as we have here. So anyways, today I want to introduce to you Nicolle Nattrass. I met Nicolle at a retreat. And
Yeah.
she had an amazing, I hate the word amazing now. I say it way too much, but she did. She had an amazing concept that it's not new, but it's how she delivered the idea of journaling. And we all know about journaling. Some of us journal, are prolific journalers. But I wanted to bring Nicolle in here to do a powerful deep dive into why we even consider such a thing. So Nicolle, thank you for joining us here on Mojo in 15.
Thank you. And I have to say, you made quite an impression on me. I just quoted you a few days ago. You said when you were speaking at the retreat, you said, don't go for what you think you can get. Mm-hmm. Go for what you really want. And oftentimes, you meet someone and you hear something and it resonates. And that really resonated with me. So thank you for that. And thanks for inviting me. I think when I think of myself as a mover and shaker, I think of myself as a mover and shaker in terms of having a tender-hearted revolution. Mm-hmm. I think in the world, we need to have tender hearts. And so a big part of my work with creative journaling for self-care is nurturing our tender hearts. We really need a radical revolution, I think, in terms of how we treat other people and how we treat ourselves. And so really, the main focus of my work is creative journaling for self-care, whether it's with counselors, nurses, doctors, whether it's with kids and parents, helping them use journaling in my new book on how to process stress, anxiety, trauma, or whether it's artistic, focused for how do we nurture our creative desires? How do we get more clear about our goals?
Now, Nicolle, give me your best reason for picking up a journal and going for it. Why should we do this?
Okay, well, one thing, it's accessible. It's very accessible. So a lot of times I think when we think about nurturing ourselves, we think that we have to go out and we have to fly to, Portugal or go to a spa and spend a lot of money. Not that that's, a great thing, but it's accessible. So picking up a pen, paper, crayons, if we have kids, stuff lying around the house, it's an opportunity to open that blank page. And what I say is journaling is a soft place for us to land. And so that's one of the main reasons. The other reason is that we know now the scientific evidence of what happens in our brains between our right and left brain starts having to create these new neural pathways when we write. So literally what science is showing us now is that, for folks who have had strokes or anything, is that even the act of doodling can be like a massage for our brains. So it's about reducing stress, increasing goals, gaining clarity, all of those things. And now we have the scientific research backing up that, journaling strengthens our immune cells. Even writing for 20 minutes about a stressful event in our lives can help us let it go, right? It's about processing.
Yes. Thank you for that. I have this thing about notebooks. I mean, it's just crazy. If anybody walked in here, they'd think there was an issue. I just love buying really great writing books and paper. I have a thing about the sort of visceral feeling of the motion of that. And so to me, it's not even about sort of emptying myself. It's about all of it, capturing it, writing it, having the book with me as a sort of comfort, going back and looking at the things that were bothering me. Did I grow? Am I still tackling this? What's going on here? It's
That
when my mother passed away, I didn't know she had so many journals, and I picked one up. And I have to tell you, it was me now understanding my mother in a certain way that I didn't know before, because she had written down her thoughts, not that she shared it with the world. And I think sometimes we don't even realize who we are until we go back to these things. Don't we? Is that true?
I believe it. We don't actually realize our own impact, but I can tell you that taking the time to sit down and listen to ourselves, we're saying, I matter. My feelings matter. My thoughts matter. And the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 20 years of working with all kinds of different groups in journaling, from people in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction to kids to people dealing with grief, is that journaling is really about an intimate relationship with self. And I always bring this out and say, does anybody remember these 5-year personal diaries with the key and the lock and everything? I knew at a young age that I needed to write things down, and I was capturing things. And that idea of that builds self-esteem, saying I matter. What I'm going through matters. And being able to go back and look through experiences and gain that reflection time is key. It's really key. I mean, the biggest content of our lives is our story, right? It's like our family.
One of the things when I suggest to people to journal, a lot of people get stuck in thinking about this because they feel they have nothing to say. What do you say to people like that?
Well, my background is as a counselor, and it's really interesting the information that we can gain from ourselves by our reaction to journaling. And the first thing that I say, as you'll notice, my banner is creative journaling, is that there are no journal police. So the biggest thing that I hear people say is, well, I'm not really a journaler. I have a lot of empty journals, or I don't journal every day, or I don't do this and I don't do that. And it's again, we're imposing these expectations and this performance-based ideology on it, based in school, perhaps. So I would say, it's a challenge to let go of the judgment. It's a challenge to let go of our perfectionist. For a long time, I had to have really neat handwriting and neat printing. And it's like, I have messy journals now. There's something about permission, about landing on the page and having permission to explore whatever is up, and the biggest learning that I have from that is, sitting with my son when he was 4.5 and sitting there with him across the table, and he had one side of the journal, blank page, and I had the other. And we had gone through a car accident, a really traumatic car accident. And, soon he would draw it out and talk about it. And, it wasn't about art or being perfect or even being able to know that was the car or this was this. It was his way of processing. And I think we lose touch of that. And I think that's what I mean by tender-hearted revolution. I think we're so caught up in rules and judgment and what it's supposed to look like and how it is that we're actually not just being with ourselves in process.
Yes, that whole piece around disconnection, Nicolle, we are a society, like I said to you before we started taping, that we are so far away from the process, yet we want people to be in the process with us. So there is this sort of almost madness about our expectations about how things are supposed to go, and being with, whether we are with another person and present with another person, and more importantly, present with ourselves. And I believe what you're saying here for everybody is that journaling allows you to be present with self.
It does. And it can get uncomfortable sometimes. And, that's the other piece in my work is that I want to bring into, that's why my work is creative journaling, is to bring in a sense of play and enjoyment. Enjoyment is a great motivating factor. I go to my gym because I like my gym, because I like the music they play, because I like my ladies and their dancing Zumba. Yeah. Right. So it's the same thing with the journal. It's like, if you have a journal and you feel like, oh, it's too small and I don't want to write here, get another one. It's like, try another way. I offer an online creative journaling for self-care course, and it's all about just guiding people. Sometimes people need guidance, like in terms of writing prompts of, do I just write in my journal what I do every day? Well, you don't have to, right? Some days I don't write every day, and I'm one of the top journaling experts in the world, but I may write a word. I may think in my morning, what is the dominant thought that I want to have today?
Tell us about your journaling course. That's interesting. A journaling course. Do I not just open my book and write? Walk us through.
Well, my online journaling course is with the International Association for Journal Writing, and the focus is self-care, and it's really, different modules that focus on different things, like how do we increase our self-care? How do we write about stressful events to leave them on the page? What is a writing prompt? There's so many things. Like I could take this little card here and that says shadow. It's a wild woman card, and I could decide, I'm going to write about this card. I could see an image that I could write about. I could Google self-care, and a million writing prompts will come up. So my course is really about, it includes a coaching call as well. So it's really about, like, where are you at right now? What is it that you need? How to gain more clarity? And it allows you to learn how to use different journaling techniques, because there's all different kinds of journaling techniques. It's not a one size fits all. You kind of have to find out, like, what works for me. Do I want a blank journal? Like for me, I like to be able to draw and color and bring paint out. Like, again,
beautiful.
Who's to say that we have to just write a certain way on the page? Like, it's messy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no rules.
When I was about 14, I was always in the journals too. I was the only girl in my family, so it was me and the book, right? And when I was 14, I bought this sort of gold book, blank book. It was probably a sketchbook. And there was so much that I put in there, cards and just all kinds of things. I mean, I poured my heart out. As when I started high school, I mean, I was just, Anyway, my daughter at some point discovered that journal, and she's holding it hostage because in her mind, this is her mom as a kid. Yeah. And she dives in there, and every now and then she'll pull something out, say something to me. I'm thinking, well, how'd you know that? Oh, she's holding my youth.
Yeah.
But let it go.
Yeah. And like, people use it, travel journals. I use my big, 8x10 black and white travel journal when I went to Paris, and like glued little sugar packets in there and my plane ticket and all of that, I mean, yeah. And like, even my son and I doing his journal, he would take his big journal to grandma's house, and then grandma and him would sit at the table, and, they would laugh and just like, I'm not a good drawer. No, me neither. And they would draw. And it's like, it really is about attachment and building close connections. So whether we're journaling with our kids, whether we're journaling with ourselves, it really is about building the connection. And, in my online course, we do different themes every module. So it's an exploration of, what does it mean to have an opening in your life? What does that mean to feel vulnerable? How do we get back in touch with that tender part of ourselves where we wake up every day and we feel inspired? I mean, that's part of your work, right?
Yeah.
Is that we wake up every day and we feel like, okay, we're curious. I'm going to lean into my life. Instead of, I have to get up and do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. You just
said something very important. Do you find that most people aren't curious enough about leaning into their life?
Yes, I think like, we're scared a lot of, especially in the last couple of years. I mean, there's been cause to be fearful, and I think we have to have a relationship with fear that changes a little bit, where we recognize that we can be curious. And I guess we go back to that childlike, tender, hearted place where we remember love and curiosity, right? Are very positive vibrations.
Yeah.
Right. And fear is not,
yes.
Right. It can teach us, and we have to listen to it. We don't just push it away. We have to listen to it. But like I was talking the other day with a client the other day about this integration piece. Like we can have fear teach us, but we also need to have it make us more curious to embrace different things, right? And like both.
Yes. Powerful, powerful. Our time is coming near to an end, but what I want to find out, because I ask everybody this, what is your book, your go-to book, your favorite book, your most inspirational, the one that fed you the most?
Well, there's so many. I would say The Artist's Way book, for one thing, by Julia Cameron. She has influenced a lot of my work. She influences how I approach creative journaling for self-care. Very much so. I highly, highly recommend that book. She's, still around doing different webinars and courses. And, I recommend my book.
Okay.
Just the two of us, A Soft Place for Tender Hearts to Land, because when our family went through our traumatic car accident and my son was 4, I could see his behavior change. I could see how trauma affected him. And there's so many kids who are, part of the reason why I wrote the book and released it during COVID was because I saw so many kids struggle with high anxiety and stress and families, and our kids are absorbing all of that, right? And so to be able to write it and release a sample chapter during COVID for people to have, and then to be able to release it hard copy now, it's got like journal examples in it where we show how we work together. Mm-hmm. And to me, this is accessible. I want kids and parents in the world to be able to get this and start it at home with their kids, to teach our kids, like, you matter. Yeah. Your feelings matter. Yeah. Just like, and hopefully they grow up to be like you, where you're like, I'm writing everything down and I'm honoring my journey. Yeah. I know there's a big part of your journey that is all about identifying what you need and your goals, right? And I'm sure journaling was the launch pad for that, right?
Absolutely. And I'm still doing it. I'm still not there. I don't think I ever will be there, because there's always more to excavate and find out and work with.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
We can talk forever. I mean, this is such juicy stuff, and I will definitely have you back. But I want the listening audience, the viewing audience, to really dig into and consider what Nicolle is offering, especially with her course.
Thank you.
I'll put it everywhere for you, because this is important. We need to rediscover and connect to self. So, beautiful lady, thank you so much for sharing this. It's such an important topic, especially now. Okay.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk again. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.